Hey everyone, Mr. Happy here, and welcome to Mondays with Mr. Happy, aka Mr. Happy Mondays, a weekly Q&A show where you ask me questions and I answer them. I'm gonna be honest, I'm pretty tired as you can see as of the recording of this video. I stayed up really late watching Cobra Kai, and if you haven't seen it yet on YouTube Red, it was pretty good. I'm glad they've already signed on for a season 2. But this Mondays with Mr. Happy, it's not gonna be live. I'm doing this off stream, so there's not going to be any Twitch questions. We're just going to take the questions that are on the forums, which there's quite a few of this week, and I'm going to just answer those. Before we get started, though, I want to remember to do the sponsors at the top of the show, since I've been out of it all day, and I was raiding for like 7 hours today as well. So first, I want to thank our Patreon sponsors. Over on Patreon, people have been combating hashtag demonetized on YouTube, which is at varying levels of effect on the channel over the past several months. But we have a lot of awesome people supporting the stream over on Patreon, so we want to make sure we thank them at the top of Mondays with Mr. Happy. First off, Khuja Cross and the Advent FC on Jenova. That's Khuja Cross's FC themselves. You guys are going to be seeing a picture here, and that's going to be Khuja Cross picture. Every week we've had those, so at this point, if you watch weekly, you should be used to it. So thank you for being the patron of light all these weeks, Khuja. Your continued support has been amazing, and I very much look forward to the pictures you'll be sending us in the future. My cat's digging at the carpet right now, and I'm going to leave that in the video. Come here. Aloha. Come on. You want to be in the video? Aloha. Come here. You want to be in the video? Yeah? Yeah? If I try to pick you up right now, you're going to walk away? Yeah, you are. The cat's going to walk away. So let's thank the rest of our patrons while we're at it. Our standard sponsors, we have Mrhappy, the Red Wings of Baron FC from Zalera. We have Fray Blackheart. We have Cidus, Oreo, and Shiva. We have Syd Hellwind of Gilgamesh. We have Afro Ninja from Malboro. Aloha. Cheesecake from Leviathan. Sploda. That Lane Weeb. Ashen, Emiya of Cerberus. Argoti, Tristam of Midgardsormr. Fafarian, Rendil, Giraffeswillrule, Stevie-Rex, and Neon. For our elite sponsors, we have Asuka Wake from the Jenova server, Emiya Nella of Midgardsormr, Sarah and the Avalanche family on Malboro, Johnny Woden of Tonberry, Nyark of Clan Vizsla, Kifka and the Grey Eagles on Exodus, Dark Graver, Katayoshi from Khuja, Skia Symphonia from Ragnarok, Rah Xephon from Exodus, Rynoet Westos, the Purple Warrior, the Adric Red Steel on Exodus, Lexxie Valentine, Mantaru the Rivivus FC from Zodiark, Sarah Human Tribes from Jenova, Rynoet Chikara, Giraffeswillrule of Siren, Hirsch First of Fairy, Phoenix Down Free Company on Goblin, and Saren from Zodiark. Finally, we have our premium sponsors. We have Det Neko, we have Diablo, Holy Tabasco, Red Thorn Asura, Kurenai Oni, Asken Hawk from Shiva, Oscar, Crash015, Mustang, Serenity FC on Ultras, Kat Kazuma, Serial Kier and the Reckless Tea Party on Cactar, Ignis Fairground from Diablos, Valestra of Famfrit, Not Quarters from Excalibur, Krovos Moonscar, Private Mikey, Spike, Nadia and Kirasami, Rudy Rudiger, Tin Colossus, Killer Hackman, Raul Jr, Ramil Gaming, and Kiltastic Jones. Thank you everyone for supporting on Patreon. With that out of the way though, let's get to the questions before we take too much longer with this video and before my cat tries to dig to China. Aloha, say hi. Aloha. Look how happy he looks. Alright, here. Alright, question number 1. Hey Haps, let's do recycled question roulette. In other words, questions I haven't selected in a roulette. Alright. Better communication, Glamorous Enrage, and a Spoony Stormblood question. Let's do the Glamorous Enrage question. Alright, I know that need, might, or will be the extension off, but I'm farming Rabbinaster on an alt for Glamour and over 25 runs. I have 1 armor piece and never saw that on the character. So I have a burning question. Could we just be able to purchase the equip from the 24-man for the coins we get them after the weekly restriction has been lifted? I know there won't be a weekly restriction when need disappears, but still. So I'd imagine they don't want to do that only because they want to keep people running it. However, you're going to need a Rabbinaster coin to get weekly upgrade materials when the next 24-man comes out as well. And with the greed-only system being incorporated, I feel as if they could use some sort of safety net to help people get the piece that they want after X amount of runs. Maybe a weekly limitation of anywhere from like, I don't know, 4 to 8, not even the coins, just like, I don't know, something else, because the coins are a little bit difficult to do because there's one that's like weekly restricted, one that's not, and you need both in order to do one thing. I feel like there could be a better solution other than greed all to make sure that people, either A, run it multiple times, or B, feel like they're not discouraged after running it 25 times and not getting the loot. What that is, I don't know, but the ability to purchase the items, I think with the upgrade materials requiring all the 24-mans of the current expansion, I don't see the harm in it, personally. Question number 2. Hey Haps, longtime viewer, first time asker, have some cookies, because who doesn't love cookies? I love cookies. Fat boy loves cookies. I have a question for you about Eureka. Looking into the future, do you think Square Enix will raise the elemental level cap in every new patch till the end of the expansion? Yes. If so, how can they block this progression and kind of ruin the joy for new players? So we already know that as they release new, episodes, of Onimos, of Eureka in particular, so we have Onimos now, and Pagos will be in 4.36, that they will be adding catch-up features, such as the challenge logs that they're adding in 4.3, and I suspect they'll probably make direct adjustments to things like Onimos and Pagos as they become less relevant, to make it so that players that need to get through those in order to actually get to the newer stuff don't feel like they're completely gated. One option is that they may make players get items from all the zones in order to do future upgrades. They do it with the 24-mans, where the Rabanastron coin, which we were just talking about, is needed in addition to the new one from the Ridorana Lighthouse. So it's possible they do the same thing here in order to keep them all populated, but I think we're more likely to just see some sort of buffs or changes to the way certain things are acquired in the older zones as they incorporate newer zones. I don't think they'll ever completely die, but they definitely won't be 144 players strong after Pagos comes out, not unless there's a really good reason. Question number 3. Hi, Happy. Hey. Not the first time. Have a roulette bonus of strawberry shortcake and some sugar cookies shaped like bunnies. I like sugar cookies. Do you think Square Enix would ever add a mobile healer? The Ash change is definitely a step in the right direction, but still every healer currently has a lot of restrictions how they move and weave abilities. White Mage is less mobile than even Black Mage. That's not true. And it seems pretty arbitrary to give every healer this restricted playstyle. Could you see a Bard style healer? So here's the big thing. You can't just give them a mobile style healer, because here's the problem. If something is mobile entirely, there needs to be a drawback to it. In the case of healers, that's most likely to be their healing potency. If they're able to move freely, their healing potency needs to go down. There's nothing in the game that needs that. If you need to be mobile for any given set of time, every job has the tools to deal with moving and taking care of people at the same time. Now, you have to plan around those, but a mobile healer would kind of just be a waste of a job. They'd have to completely redevelop it because, just to be honest, a good healer doesn't need to be mobile all the time. A good healer knows when to stop and cast. A good healer knows how to plan for when they need to move, whether it's a swift cast, whether it's pre-medica, maybe it's pre-healing in some way, saving off global cooldowns, things like divine benisons for shielding tanks, or using regens on people while they have to move instead of doing it when they can stand still and use other things. Anything like using their DPS skills that have instant cast, such as Arrow in the case of White Mage, or Combust in the case of Astrologian. They have things that are there for if they need to move or plan around moving. So no, I don't think a mobile healer would ever happen. I think it would be a pretty big waste of development time, because it's kind of a skill that you just need to have as a healer, knowing how to manage your movement. Question number 4. Ayo Haps. It's been a while since I asked a question, but still no bonus for you. But I love you. Says that. Oh, great. That means so much. I really enjoy your WoW to 14 series. Tried a few MMOs in my days, but always seem to get back to 14. I was wondering, what are things you prefer in WoW or 14 and why? Would you love to see them implemented in 14 in some way? Similarly, is there anything in 14 that WoW could benefit from in its current state? So what I like to say, the difference between WoW and 14 is WoW is very focused. They really focus on combat content. So Mythic plus dungeons in general, raids, or open world or world quests, which I believe is what they're called. Those are the things they're invested in. They want you to constantly have these goals to go after that are specifically focused on empowering your character. Whereas 14 is all about giving you so many different things, but none of them go that deep in terms of their depth or how far they can actually progress your character. So WoW it has the radius of a puddle, but it's deep like an ocean. Whereas Final Fantasy XIV has the width of a lake, but it's much more shallow. So it's tough. I would love stuff like Mythic Plus. I would love more raid bosses, just because that's the content I'm invested in. On the flip side, though, WoW doesn't have, I feel, as many of these kind of alternate activities that people tend to do together. I feel like the role-playing aspects of Final Fantasy XIV are a lot stronger, and that matters a lot to the people that are part of the Final Fantasy XIV community. Like, you don't have things like performance and whatnot in WoW. And yeah, you could argue that's not really content, but it's a feature that players love and look forward to and love messing around with and maybe get invested in a little bit. They want to see it be better. So I think that 14 could definitely benefit from maybe getting more people specifically on combat content, whereas World of Warcraft maybe could branch out and find things that aren't so dedicated to just end game. Because if you're not doing deep Mythic Plus or you're not doing Mythic raiding, then that it does run out fairly quickly. The number of activities you can actually do. And so, I mean, that's it. That's just me speaking from a third-party experience. Obviously, I haven't played the most recent WoW stuff. I haven't played anything in Battle for Azeroth, so I don't know how expeditions are being received, for example. So take what I just said about WoW with a grain of salt, because it's not educated to the fullest with the most recent stuff that World of Warcraft has been doing. But hopefully that's a good enough answer for you. Question number 5. Hey Haps, love the calming background music in your patch note videos. I overuse the hell out of that theme. I use it in a lot of just like straight up recording style videos. Question, what do you enjoy about odd numbered patches, or what do you enjoy first? I run the dungeon on minimum item level. So odd numbered patches is always a bit tough for me. I always want to do the extreme primal first. It's the most difficult content that is in an odd numbered patch in the initial launch. So for me, it's always that. When it comes to everything else, the main story kind of usually takes a backseat unless the trial is a part of it, which obviously it will be in this case. The 24-mans are something I like to enjoy once. I like to find out the story, and really the odd-numbered patches are me stopping and kind of enjoying the story or catching up on the story or things like that, because it's just that kind of content. If I can include 0.1, 0.5, 0.6 in this case, Ultimate would be my new favorite thing in odd-numbered patches, because I love it. Just from a personal note, that's my kind of content. I guess I just love those the hyper challenging and the world race around this super difficult encounter, and I love learning those types of encounters and sharing my experience with those encounters with other people. So for me, definitely all the hardest stuff, that's going to be true of every patch, but I do actually like watching people enjoy the things that maybe I'm not as focused on, because it's nice to see other people having fun. I'm not so selfish that as much as I want more raid content, that I'm not going to stop and enjoy other people enjoying content in the game, because I like seeing other people be happy. Question number 6. Hey Haps, hope things are going well. They're doing I. I'm looking at getting one of those racing gaming chairs, but don't need the top of the line. I want to spend like $150. Wonder if there's a brand or specific item. $150 is not a lot of money. Those chairs generally run pretty high prices unless you're getting one that's like used or has some wear and tear on it. I can tell you right now, the only 2 types of chairs that I've experienced with that aren't like IKEA desk chairs, which by the way, I had a great one that was like $80 or something. Don't remember the model, but was fantastic from an IKEA. Is the DX Racer, which was provided to me by the company, which I loved, but after moving twice, it was kind of roughed up in the truck both times, so it was not great for that. And then this Herman Miller that Mel got me for my birthday, which is like way above what you would pay for most of these other chairs. I did not know how expensive these chairs were, but I got to tell you, it's a great damn chair. So I don't actually have great recommendations. I wish I could remember the model of that IKEA chair, because I would tell you to get that one. I used to have that chair, and that chair was awesome. Question number 7. Yo, Mr. Happy, when Lords of Verminion was added, it didn't get many participants. I love it, but I understand why others don't. Players are saying it was a wasted development time and energy content, but some could say the same thing about Ultimate. I just don't know many players who are interested in doing it or trying to beat it. New Ultimates had to come out. Will anyone go back to do Ultimate Bahamut? Is it not wasted development and energy? So it seems like a fair question. A lot of the times people word these questions almost in a sort of conceited, like, I think it's a waste of time kind of thing. But this, I actually like the way you worded this, so I just wanted to point that out, because it seems like genuine curiosity about content that's designed for a small portion of the community. So let me just say a few things about Ultimate. One, let me tackle, will people still go back and do Ultimate Bahamut? As long as it remains minimum item level, it will always be a great way of testing the skill of your players. And for groups that are interested in that, Second Coil Savage served a very similar goal back in the day if you did it around the item level it was intended. It wasn't item level capped though, so people eventually would just go in, and then it doesn't end up mattering all that much. So yeah, I think Ultimate Bahamut ultimately will still be quite popular even after the next one comes out, but obviously Ultimate Weapon's going to be the big focus. People who do beat Ultima but didn't beat Bahamut are pretty likely to go back and try to beat Bahamut though. At least I feel that's the kind of community or the kind of people that this kind of content is targeting. So the main reason why Ultimate is generally more valuable for the game and the health of the game is a lot of people like to live vicariously through the accomplishments of others. It's kind of like why the world first race is as popular as it is. There's a lot of people who can't participate in it. There's a lot of people who watch it to try and learn the fight so that they can go beat the fights later. There's lots of reasons why people stop and enjoy content that they may not necessarily do. With Ultimate, the excitement of the players who are into it is very viral. It's very public emotion. So it raises a lot of social media presence, and a lot of it almost like does PR for the game itself for people who are just interested in these kind of challenges and these sorts of things. So I think that's the main value of something like Ultimate over something like Lords of Verminion. Also, Lords of Verminion, one of the big problems is that it's a different type of game. When you purchase an MMO that's a tab target MMO, You buy it to play a tab target MMO. You don't buy it to play a half-cocked RTS that's overly complex with the number of units that it has. So it's a gamble trying to put something like that in your game that you just don't know if it's going to resonate with your subscribers. If it was a one-time purchase and nothing else, maybe you could get away with it and people write it off as something they don't like for me with Blitzball and 10. But for paying subscribers to take time away from a patch to work on something like that, it's tough. It just doesn't generate that kind of excitement. It just generates memes. For Ultimate, I think the sheer fact that people are so passionate about it, so publicly passionate about it, is good for the health and the image of the game overall. Even if ultimately, and I know I like using that word way too much, especially in this context, it basically targets a very, like a 1-2% population of the community. Question number 8. Hey, Mr. Happy, longtime viewer, first-time poster, so have this brownie. You guys are like handing me cookies and brownies like crazy. Like, I thought I was losing weight a little bit, but now you starting to make me think maybe I should go the other way. My question is, when do you think tickets for NA FanFest 2018 will go on sale? So they went on sale June last time. I assumed they would go on sale in July this time, because FanFests have been classically in October for North America, so them going on sale in June made a lot of sense. So if it being November this time, I expect July will be when the tickets go on sale. We have a live letter coming up at E3, and I heavily anticipate that will be when we find out when the North American tickets are going on sale. My guess would be the second week of July. Question number 9. Hello, happy my dude, Faker Guns. Hey, glad caught on. Hey, I'm in generous moods because my static cleared 5-7 within a month of forming, so Kapop Idiot, have a beer on me. I've been drinking beers because somebody left beers in our fridge on Cinco de Mayo because they got too fucked up on my girlfriend's margaritas. She makes some crazy good margaritas. So you got a couple questions, let's get to it. But there's 4 questions. A couple is 2. You liar! It's fine. Do you think new Ultimate fight weapons will be recycled skins of glittery crap? So this looks like it came before the... Yes, this came before the... Oh no, this was after the live letter. No, so you're asking me this. We already know what the weapons are. So for the original A Realm Reborn jobs that have relics, have Zodiac weapons, they are going to be remodeled original AF1 weapons. You know, the ones you get from doing the level 80 relic weapons. So they're going to be beefed up, enhanced versions of those that are different from their eventually evolved anima or Zodiac weapon counterparts. What they actually look like, we don't know. For jobs that don't have those kind of weapons, they said it will be symbolic weapons that are considered symbolic for the job. I don't know if that's like the first weapon you get when you accept those jobs, if that's considered the symbolic weapon, but just expect it to be crazy, crazy glam of some old school looking weapons. Yeah, it's never going to be a brand new weapon. It will never be that. Ultimate, the entire point of Ultimate is to take as many resources that currently exist and make a brand new piece of content or a new way to enjoy content that's existed before. Garuda, Titan, Ifrit, Bahamut, Tuntanya, Nail, Ultima, all models have been used before. Yes, they've done some new things with Golden, and I'm sure they'll do new things with Ultima Weapon during the later parts of the fight, but it will always be old stuff, reskinned, recycled, retooled, remade. That is the whole point of Ultimate in terms of their development process. 2, are you going to the EU FanFest? I would love to go, but there's a few issues for me. 1, flying overseas towards the front of the plane is really expensive. And I know that's like, it's like, well, why towards the front of the plane? I get a lot of anxiety, and I get very bad motion sickness on planes. I do not like them. I'm afraid of heights. I do not like flying. So what I normally do is I splurge for like first 6 rows. Like it doesn't have to be first class, but like just as long as I'm in the front of the plane, I'm fine. And that gets really expensive on international flights. They're also really long flights, so it's not like I can really stand being that uncomfortable for that long. On top of that, I mean, money-wise, ever since moving out to LA, I just haven't been as comfortable with my funds because LA is more expensive. I'm doing fine, but I'm someone who always kind of lives cautiously in terms of funds. I watched a lot of money go to waste in my family in my early years. Like we lost, we owned a bunch of businesses and then money was misspent. We lost a lot of those businesses. We didn't have a lot of money for several years of my childhood. So I penny pinch. I make sure I spend on the right things and make sure I'm keeping track of everything that I spend. And then I'm making sure to treat Mel to things on occasion because I feel like that's what that should be used for. I just want to make sure I'm taking care of the things that are most important. Going to EU FanFest, unless like I'm being flown out there by, I don't know, by somebody, by Square Enix, by some other like individual or company or whatever, it's tough for me to justify going out there, being away from the stream, being away from YouTube, as much as I actually really want to go to all 3 fan fests. I want to experience Europe, I want to experience Japan, and I want to go to them all, but it's not as simple as wanting to go. I need, there's something extra that needs to happen along the way. But I would love to go, and if I do, I will see you there. 3, can you call my friends Rye and Rio weenies? Well, I could call them, you asked me to call them a weenie. So are they 2 people but 1 weenie? You're both a weenie. Anyway, question number 4. I'm a little concerned about melee uptime for 5S, or 5 Savage. 5 Savage. It seems that I keep getting those stupid lights whenever a party member has a ghost tether. I have to sacrifice uptime. So the only time you should even have to think about sacrificing uptime to drop the Saintly Beams is if there's a melee range ghost. You don't need to go to the middle of the platform and drop the ghost. You should be able to be either in melee range or max melee range, being able to drop a Saintly Beam there. If there's a ghost there, yeah, you can't take the chance that their ghosts spawned in great spots and that they'll be able to just kite it around in that small area. Then you should go behind it. There's nothing you can do about that, though. It comes down to RNG with the fight and the comfort of your actual party members in terms of doing the mechanic. That's not the only place you lose 5S uptime, but unfortunately, that's just how it is. Sometimes the ghosts are in one spot, sometimes they're not. If there's no ghost in melee range, max melee range in the middle of the platform, you'll still have your uptime. If not, if your party members are good enough, you can still do fully in the boss kind of Saintly Beams, which is not great for a lot of people. Or you can drop them behind the boss off to the middle, and you'll lose like maybe a GCD and a half if you time it well. Question number 10, and that's a lot of words. Hey, Habs, how you doing, good sir? Couldn't ask for a while, so I have a bunch of text. I noticed. I hope you have time to answer them. Thanks in advance. Because I'm not doing the live questions, it looks like I might. As a bonus, good luck charm of saving you from to reinstall Windows for the next several years. Windows 10 wants to do an update, and I'm so nervous because it's going to break everything in the patches on Tuesday. I'll start with a few simple questions. 1. Is the the patch trailers too spoilery? I feel like I've watched 80% of the 4.3 main scenario. Is the problem that we maybe get too few quests? I don't think so. I mean, unless you're the kind of person who thinks the average movie trailer is spoilery, because they're 4 minutes long. It's like an hour and a half to do the 4.3 main scenario, to do the 24 man's another hour and a half, to do 4 lords is probably another hour. Like, we're talking about 4 minutes out of 4+ hours of story, whether it be traveling cutscenes, text options with NPCs. So no, I think they're less spoilery now than they used to be, if anything. Especially because they like to throw us for a loop. They like to play the text of one NPC or play the audio of one NPC. It shows a different scene to make us think other things are happening. So there's a lot of red herrings, I feel like, in the trailer nowadays. So no, I don't feel that way at all. I feel like they're even probably less spoilery now than they used to be. 2, do you think the simple potency increase is what Samurai job needs? If they want to keep with the fact no utility, mass DPS, they need more. They need more than 20 potency. It should have been like 50 potency as skill. I want Samurais to do like 500 or 600 more DPS than me on my Monk. Like, I'm talking about the top tier Samurai. I want them to be doing that much more, because that's what the job design was supposed to be. I think Samurai was in a great place at the beginning of Stormblood. Then they started buffing everything, and then they didn't touch Samurai till now. And 20 potency, quite frankly, not enough. I personally think they go down the route of just don't do this anymore. Just don't do this pure DPS. Give everyone something they can contribute, even if it's not necessarily the most valuable thing to contribute. Something like, Red Mage has Embolden and it has its reses. It's the lowest DPS caster, but at least it has those things, So that's why people don't meme on it, even though it's the lowest DPS of the 3 casters, because it offers something. The bigger thing is that when you just offer DPS, there's no room for you being any worse than the best you can possibly be on that job. Because if you are not contributing the most possible DPS that you can pull off in comparison to your raid team, you offer nothing else. If you're a 2.5k DPS Dragoon, hey, at least you're still giving me Litany. At least you're still giving the Bard the piercing buff. At least you're still giving me the Tether. Like, there's things you're doing to bring the rest of your group up, even if your performance isn't necessarily where it needs to be. With Samurai, if you do 2.5k DPS, great. You do 2.5k DPS, you're dead to me, get out of here. So that's the big problem with not having any utility whatsoever, any direct DPS utility at that. I think it's best when you have a mix of a defensive and an offensive utility, one of each. And slashing debuff does not count on Samurai. Sorry. And finally, the big one, questions about Eureka. Let's see. On the other hand, the concept itself just feels terrible. So you think Eureka doesn't feel good, and it's the only way to get the relic. People have to eat the sandwich. You think gating the relic behind Eureka is the only way to make people do it, or would you rather change? In it? So I'm assuming the question is the only reason people do Eureka for the relic? Well, yes, but that's kind of just how content works. Content needs to be incentivized in some way. Even if it's not necessarily content that you want to do, that doesn't mean you shouldn't incentivize it. People always say, well, you should focus on improving the content. But it's proven that if you give something worthwhile, if you put a carrot on a stick and dangle it, it doesn't matter if they just have to walk up and grab the carrot, or if they have to walk through like flaming cinders to get the carrot. If they want that carrot enough, they will cross those cinders if they really want to. So yes, Eureka can absolutely be improved. I think that goes without saying, and I think that anyone would agree with that. But the fact that the relic is there is a big thing, because if you take it away, what else is left? What do they have in Eureka? Yes, you could say the glam, you could say the minions, the mounts, but there needs to be something. Players always want their character getting stronger. And for doing something like Eureka, getting stronger, main thing. Eureka is also the embodiment of what people asked for with the previous Zodiac and Anima quests. Let me explain. People said, why do they just make these quests old content? Why don't they make new content for it? So they did. The Relic, the Zodiac weapon, the Anima, they're all one thing in common. They're grindy alternatives to skill-based weapon item level. That is the big thing. It's all about the item level in comparison to the content that's actually difficult. Time invested versus skill invested. And to be fair, you can spend just as much time investing in, there's like a fly in here. You spend like just as much time investing in Savage Raids to probably get those done in the time you do this other stuff. So it's an easier thing at that. It's just, it's a mix of comparing skill to time. And because it takes less skill, but it takes a lot of time, they just gradually build it up. It's also about building something, feeling like you're holding on to something and you're a part of something that's constantly improving. So I think the gating the relic behind is the most important thing. Really worried about what will happen to the Anima Zone when Pockets comes out. Okay, I already kind of covered that earlier, so I'll have to skip over that one. And 3, as much as we love potions, you think they need to rework the lockbox system? I'd rather get fewer lockboxes and them, Jesus, this fly won't get out of here. And them tone down the drop rates of things. Like, I'd rather there be more valuable items, but less lockboxes. Like, if I had 25 lockboxes, but the things I got in them were way better than if I had 250 and the items I got were just fireworks all the time, I'd feel a lot better about that. Granted, it's hilarious to open several of those. I get a lot of materia now. I will never need to buy materia again forever, as long as they keep throwing these things into Eureka. So, at the same time, feeling pretty good with the way it is right now. Question number 11. Hey, Mr. Happy, what's happening? Never mind. I'm sorry you had to read that. Thank you. So recently I've been playing Astro a lot and been having a lot of fun. Doing things like giving Black Mage and Ninjas enhanced arrows to see how fun. Don't do that, by the way. So arrows are dangerous to just be giving to people. Black Mages are fine, but it can really fuck with the timing of a lot of our skills and the way that we look at our alignments for our global cooldowns versus our off GCDs. When you're popping Riddle Fire, what would you prefer? Balance for attack speed or enhanced arrow for attack speed or balance? Balance is always the best choice. The only time I think arrow is the better choice is if it guarantees just a single extra global cooldown that you wouldn't have had before. And if that global cooldown is more overall potency than what I would have gotten from the balance from all the other weapon skills that I got, or in the off GCDs that I would have got. Balance, always better. Black Mage is okay with an arrow. There are other jobs that are okay with an arrow. We will always want balance more. Always. Question number 12. Hi, Happy. 2 questions this week, if it's okay. It is. Do you think if Decay gets added to the feast, they will do a separate mode? No, that kind of defeats the whole purpose of having Decay. Decay, the entire point of it is so that people have to keep their rank and they can't just sit on it till the end of the season. It's to keep PvP queues flowing a little bit more throughout the various ranks. So as people come close to at the beginning of the week, because they need to qualify so they don't get decayed for the entire week, people will log in and they'll do their matches, whether, 10, 15, whatever matches. And that'll get some matches going to get some more people PvPing. I think the biggest problem with PvP is it's just not done right. But adding Decay is another way of ensuring that people stay on top of keeping their rank and that they don't just earn it as fast as possible and then peace the hell out. So no, I don't think they would add I think that adding a different ranked mode that uses decay would absolutely defeat the purpose of having decay in the first place. As for the second question, well, it says it's a spoiler question, so I managed to scroll up fast enough. So if you're somebody who doesn't want to be spoiled on patch 4.2's story, what I'm going to do is I'm not going to scroll down from where it is right now. I'm going to do a thumbs up, not this one. This is just a warning. And when I do thumbs up again, it means that it's unspoiler territory. So when I start the thumbs up, spoiler territory. When I do it a second time, spoiler territory is done. So spoilers have started. Do you think that Xenos could be possessed by Lahabre? No, Lahabre is dead. He's gone, done, whatever. More likely that he, if it's anyone, it's someone like a Litibus or one of the other Asians. Lahabre is done. We're done with that guy. The other Asians openly acknowledged that they're gone, they're dead, they're done. So, no. But I do think it's possible that Xenos is dealing with another Asian or a Litibus, or something else is happening with them. So there's options as far as I'm concerned, but not Lahabre. I don't think Lahabre is the one. Oh yeah, spoiler done. Question number 13. Hey Haps, how you doing? I'm doing alright. You doing alright? I'm doing alright. 2 questions for you, one slightly long and one quick, but they kind of go together. So with the buffs of Samurai, the lackluster. Okay, so this is just talking about more like, do you think raid utility is just too good? I think, again, this goes back to the whole DPS contribution versus raid utility contribution discussion that we had before. So it's the same question, it's the same answer as before. It just makes up for if your performance is anything less than stellar and gives you a way of contributing outside of your own personal performance, which, depending on the player, can vary pretty greatly. Question number 2, just watch your caster DPS vid. I was wondering what can be done to bring Red Mage up without having them be unmatched in a similar way that previous jobs. I think Red Mage has to be the lowest DPS caster, regardless of the fact that they have these, I guess regardless of the fact that they want to be treated more fairly. You have to always take into consideration the unmatched res potential. It becomes less valuable as people play better. As you progress more, you wipe less. It loses a lot of value. So I think their DPS does need to be brought up. I'd also just like Emboldened to be a little bit less central. Like, I don't understand why Emboldened has to be focused on physical DPS. Yes, that the personal part of it is the 20%. I don't know. I think Emboldened being this whole decaying buff thing, just scrap that. Make it a party utility. Even if it's the magic for the personal and the physical for the party, there's no reason for it to decay other than the fact that it's trying to make up for the fact that its duration is so long. I don't know. I just think that maybe change up Emboldened to not decay and maybe to adjust the potencies in exchange for that, or the duration of it in exchange for that. And on top of that, just give them a little more potency, because I think they do deserve it. I think they're far enough behind where you can give them a little bit of potency and it doesn't push them over the edge. Question number 14. Hi, Happy. Maybe a bit of a silly question, but why is Sephiroth stingy pop-up? Have SE messed up drop rates on mounts? All other Heavensward primals drop much more. So here's what you've encountered. You've discovered what's called the desire sensor. This is when the game knows you really want something and it won't give it to you. Now all it is they didn't mess this up. Sephiroth has the same rates as the rest of them. What you're experiencing is that for every chance there is of something dropping, there's a much greater chance of it not dropping. I have gone ridiculous amounts of times without seeing things drop that everyone says they've seen a million times. Final Fantasy 11, great example. Leaping Boots were a 5% drop rate. I played for 7 years. I killed so many of that fucking lizard. You'd have to think I'd gotten one at some point. Nope. Never saw the damn things. I had to make a whole YouTube series that started with me hunting that bitch down and finally getting those boots. And that still took 2 episodes. Let's just say this. You're having a string of bad luck. Nothing more. Question number 15. Hey there, Mr. Happy, long-time listener here. Never asked a question. Have a new adventure bonus of early knowledge about the 2019 X-Pack. All right, so Garlemald, Puppet Master, Dancer. Got it. Anyway, my question, do you think it'd be a good game? It'd be good for the game if they added a Plex Cred sub-token type system. So I think your next sentence just explains that. Let me explain it to people. Basically, those types of systems, they're systems used in EVE Online. They're used in World of Warcraft. They're used in WildStar, or they were when well, I guess it still technically is, but whatever. Basically, it's a system where you can pay with in-game currency, like in our case, Gil, and with that, you can buy tokens that other players purchase on, through the actual game itself, and you can use those purchased items to pay your monthly subscription. So it encourages people with lots of money to spend that to not have to pay for the game. Those systems are fun, but only if the prices are ludicrously insane. And even then, there have to be people willing to buy them with real money and then sell them for gil. And then you've basically created a personal RMT market where somebody's real life money is now being given an in-game currency value. And that's a little bit of shaky territory. Now, it hasn't done any damage to those games. In fact, it's been good for those games. So would it work in 14? I absolutely think so. I'm personally not a big fan of the system, but it's been a proven success in other titles, and I can't ignore that. So it would have to be a lot. It'd have to be like 100 million for a month. It has to be some insane amount that is just not reasonable, or it's just not, you'd think it would just, but then it like overvalues your money, and then like, what are you paying $15 to sell the token for like 100 million gil? Maybe 50 million will tone it down. It can't be like 10 million. I would buy a lifetime supply. I know people who would literally be able to buy out lifetime, so they'd be like, yeah, I'm paying for my, dude, I'll use this gil to pay for my Final Fantasy 17 sub at this point. I know people with that kind of gil. So I think they should look for other things in game, what those things are as gil sinks, but I don't necessarily think they shouldn't do this. And I do think they will eventually take this direction that you're suggesting. And the final question for this week's Mondays with Mr. Happy. Sup, Paps? Sup? Prisman Rygen with the last question in the forum. So Twitch chat, get ready for questions after this. They're not getting ready for anything because I'm not live. Funny story, I actually pressed the start streaming button before I clicked the start recording button. So I realized very quickly I was in the wrong place as I started to record, and I was like, I'm not supposed to be live right now. So I almost had the opportunity. So have a 4.3 bonus of white free runs of the Lighthouse raid. Non-14 questions. Lately I've been streaming getting followers. Getting a day off work to do an 8-hour marathon stream on Wednesday for St. Jude Plays to raise money. It's a fair goal and a bit of promotion, but I could use some tips on encouraging donations so the goals can be met. I want to show work. It's a viable method of raising via streaming. Any guidance or suggestion? I'm going to give you one very simple tip for raising money for charity. People like shit. Now, I don't mean they like feces. I mean, they like it when they get shit, they get noticed, they get recognized, they meet goals, and they make other people excited. Giveaways. I know the idea should be, oh, they should be donating because they support the cause, or they support the streamer, and they want to support them supporting the cause. And listen, you can do that, and there's absolutely people out there who will do it for that reason only. But you need to give away some free shit. And I obviously not free shit, but when people give it to the charity, you also give it out to them. In the case of 14, it could be Mog Station stuff. You could have a physical item that you can ship somewhere within your country. Or even international if you're interested. Like maybe what if I was giving away this Ultros plush right here? If I said, hey, we get to $500, I'll send someone this Ultros plush. It's one of my personal favorites. Obviously, you don't have to give away your own personal belongings, but I'm saying that if you have those kind of things, it makes meeting those goals a million times easier. Really, though, on top of that, a big thing is exposure. Like, you need to have a lot of people watching. Sometimes charity streams get more people watching, but it's also nice to have as many people watching as you can get in the first place, because you need eyes to see it. So free shit and get as many eyes to see it as possible. Don't go around parading it in other people's streams. Don't do that. That's bad. However, if you do know somebody who you know personally who also streams, or who knows a lot of people, even if they're not necessarily the people who use the platform you're streaming on, then get them involved. Tell them to tell other people. It's the same thing you would try to raise awareness for anything else in life. So those are the two big things. Get some shit to give away before Wednesday, and try to find as many eyes as possible. I've also been learning the Streamlabs chatbots to do a few things. Any helpful commands, dude. I every time I go to mess with the Streamlabs bot, it like doesn't work for me, or it doesn't do the things I want it to do. It doesn't do them properly. I know it does those things, but I never get it working properly because I suck. Hopefully those are, other than the last part, hopefully those are some adequate answers. But anyway, that's going to be a wrap for this episode of Mondays with Mr. Happy. So if you have questions for next week's episode of Mondays with Mr. Happy, be sure to drop them in the forums that is in the description of this YouTube video. Thank you again to our sponsors that we mentioned at the top of the show. Appreciate it a lot for the long-term support. Guys, it's just about 7:30 here on the West Coast. I need to render this. I also am probably going to go hop on a Final Fantasy 11 for a little bit, because I'm playing that while I wait for 4.3 to come out, because it's free to log into 11 right now. And I will see all you fine ladies and gentlemen in the next episode of Mondays with Mr. Happy. Thank you, everyone. I'll see you next time. And until then, take care.